Hello. In this video I want to cover the Atlas 3 window, or just the map interface in RMS3. More of an overview, but it should actually be pretty detailed. There's not really that much to explain, so I should be able to zip through this and get a lot of information out. First thing I want to show is just selection from the map back to the table and from the table back to the map and how you can kind of best utilize that. So first thing to do would be just to select on the map if you know what you're interested in, say just these units, you know right where they are. You can always just zoom straight in, draw a box. So select box, which is this button. Select box is always the default, just like in Atlas 3. So in most cases, you're going to want to just leave it as is. If it gets changed, I do recommend select box because you can select one feature with it, or you can select a bunch. It's got the best of both worlds. So obviously, as I've been selecting these, you can see over here that I'm getting a selection, actually a filter in the regen table. And that's obviously crucial. It matches up with my G cell on the map, 5 to 5 records here. Now that I have this, I can easily do things on the map like right click set as active. I can view the activities for these. It kind of is a quick way to just get where you want to be. So what you just saw here as I clicked is auto zoom. And so if I'm just holding shift here, if I select all of these, it's going to automatically zoom to those. And so this is your interface button for that toggle map auto zoom. If I turn that off, now as I click through here, it's not going to zoom to each feature. Auto zoom is on by default, but I think as time goes on, more people may prefer not to have auto zoom on all the time, because this is a perfect example. If I'm in this area and I want to just click around and look at these, I don't really need to zoom in to the full extent of each individual feature. I can just kind of highlight these as I go. Furthermore, we have a subset selection, which is possible through this row chooser here on the far left. So it doesn't really look like there's anything going on over here, but if you were to click here, you can see we get a different highlight color on the table and a different highlight color on the map. So this can be nice if you don't want to change your selection, or you have a selection here and you want to just be able to kind of go through quickly and see which ones are which. If you're making draft activities, this could be nice because maybe you have a more of a visual learning style and you see this on the map, and so you know that you need to add a draft activity to that specific unit. You can do that, and then you can move to the next one. So play around with that. I think you'll find that it will be useful, especially on bigger extents where you don't want to just jump around all the time. You can make a bigger selection here, and then if you just want to see one of those without changing your selection, this can kind of guide you around the map, because there's a lot of table data, so anything that can help visualize I think is good. Okay, so now with this selection on the map, let's just go through our layer tree options. And this is basically exactly out of the box from Atlas 3, so to speak. So you have all of your draw priority functions, same as in Atlas 3. If you don't like the way that the map is laid out, you can adjust the draw priority. Right now, regen is the bottommost layer, streams would be on top, fuel breaks is on top of that. It may actually make more sense to have the stream on top of the fuel breaks. That way, if you see a stream, it doesn't go under the fuel break layer, that sort of thing. And so that brings up the discussion about geos. This is just using a geo that is passed out to everyone that has a copy of RMS3. And what these layers are called post-GIS layers. It's part of Postgres database, and that's what is giving RMS3 its power, its capabilities of updating so quickly, sharing data basically live, and keeping us away from the nightly mergers and problems with Dropbox. So because of that, um, you have your own geo, but you don't actually have anything in your geo unless you're using the local shapefiles, which, in many cases you probably will have that checked on startup. It will make things load a little bit faster because it has less to pull from the database. But no matter what you do, the region, fuel break, and activities layer are going to be post-GIS layers. And with that, everyone will always share data from fuel breaks, region, and activities. If you make modifications on the regen layer, somebody else using RMS will see that modification. The data is always up to date, including the features. But what's nice, you do have a geo of your own that shares these layers. Not the style settings, only the features. So what that means is if you don't like the way that this map looks, you can feel free to, I just did a double click there. You can also right click and go to, oh geez, extended layer setup. Oh, sorry. Edit layer settings. Double click's obviously easier. You can set up this map to look any way that you want, and it's going to be saved to your local copy of the geo. So to say it again, your geo, your settings, not your layers, I guess is the way to think about it. Okay, so just going through the rest of these, right click, I think you all already know about how most of these buttons up here work. Most crucially here for the uses of RMS3 would be to import a layer. There's not going to be a file GeoTools import, it's just going to be this button. So this would be a way to add a reference layer if you just have GPS points or some old road network that you want to bring in and look at, you can import that layer. That layer obviously is going to be a local shapefile in your local geo for RMS3, which is going to be wherever you install RMS3. This is what the folder structure looks like here for RMS3, you can see. And it's just here in map data. We actually have two. One of them is local, one of them is all post-GIS. So if you do want to find where those layers go, that's where it is. But it's kind of a nice thing to have some freedom. You can bring in any external layer you want, and you can use feature info on that layer. So we're getting kind of crowded here. I'm just going to make this bigger. Put this right in the middle. So now we have the full map here. If you were to bring in an external layer, I'm not going to do it right now, but we can just use the feature info to click on that, see all the feature info. So you can still have reference layers here. And you can delete those. Nobody else is going to see those. Okay, hopefully that makes sense. Second most important thing here is probably the web map layers. We don't have orthos hooked up right now, so if you want some sort of base map layer, you're probably going to just go for a base map here with the web map layers. Has the topos, everything from Atlas 3, Google Satellite, Terrain. These can be pretty useful for base maps. This button is actually add post-GIS layer. Nobody's going to have credentials for that, but technically we can use that inside of here if we need to share other layers. Okay, cool. So that actually covers most of it. The most important thing that we haven't talked about yet is if you want to get a feature out of RMS3, say you have a feature that you want the most current, some gold feature that you know is up to date in RMS3, but you need to edit this feature and you want to get this out. You would just select it, right click on regions, come down to export, click on export, set your layer path wherever you want that to be exported to. Make sure that you check this box for export only selected features. You can leave all the rest of this the same. You can rename it if you want. And then click export. And that will just make a shape file. So this is important because this region layer, as discussed, is a post-GIS layer. But if you want to bring it into Atlas and modify it because you want to change that attribute, you want to put a hole in it, something that you can't do in here, you would go here, export, send out that layer, take it into Atlas 3, and do your more complex editing. If you don't have complex editing and you just need to modify a boundary to a small extent, like let's put on satellite imagery, maybe there's some updated imagery on here and we need to change something. Okay, bad example, but that's okay. We'll just pretend that this stream got updated or something and we need to pull this back away from there. So you could do that in here. That was just a double click. So let me walk you through that again. I'm going to hit enter to save. There's no edit geographic tools or edit geographic vertex move. It's just double click. That gets you into edit mode. Then you have right click. Then you can change to adding a vertice, moving a vertice, deleting a vertice. You can move by parameters, which gives you a angle and distance, and then obviously save and cancel. So if you needed to make a small change, you can do that in here, enter to save. If you can't accomplish your goal with simple edits, then you would want to export it. Okay, so that is the power of Atlas in RMS3. It does seem like it's been pared down quite a lot, and it has, but there's still a lot that you can accomplish. You can edit features, you can bring in reference layers, you can view base maps, selections. It's a powerful tool to have. And again, all of that powered by PostGIS, which means everything is going to be up to date. Those changes that I just made there will be updated on every other user's computer the next time that they load or the next time that they make an edit of their own. They just need to basically update that layer. Okay, so I'm going to leave that there. I think that gives you more than enough information to be productive. Um, if you need to know more about any of these tools, just reference the Atlas 3 manual. Only other thing to really point out in here is we just threw this distance and area tool in here, which is usually a different toolbar in Atlas 3, but it seemed like a useful thing here. So you can figure out your distances or your area using that tool. All right, thank you.